Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. On this glorious game day, November the 2nd, we got a 12 p.m. Central kickoff at Lambeau Field against the Carolina Panthers. Really excited about that ball game today. We'll be bringing you all the action a little bit later. We're going to go live at 10:45 a.m. Central for the PTA pregame show. We're going to go live immediately following the game for the PTA postgame show. So make sure you guys are subscribed here and click that bell icon so you're notified when we do go live. We'll be breaking all the action down. Like I said, we'll be taking you right up to kickoff for the pregame show. We'll also be coming back on the backside and be bringing you all of the stats, the in-depth analysis, the press conferences, everything immediately following that game. I see we got Cannonball John already in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. We got A. McCray. Yes, good to see everybody in here. So here's what I wanted to dive into, guys. Easton Butler put a tweet out, all right? He put a tweet out yesterday, and this really made my ears perk up a little bit. Now, listen, I want to be very, very, very honest and upfront here. I don't like doing trade rumor videos. I don't like talking about the trade deadline personally. You guys know I'm an X's and O's guy. I like diving into the contractual aspect of the Packers. I love just kind of looking at it from a business standpoint, from a bird's eye view standpoint. I don't really like diving into rumors because most of the time you end up wasting your time, right? It turns into something where it's like, okay, we spent 15, 20 minutes talking about that. It didn't even happen, right? I like to talk about I feel like there's so much we don't understand about what actually happens, more so than to spend too much time on something that probably won't happen. However, this made my ears perk up because you guys know I'm down here in Tennessee, and this trade deadline actually involves the Titans, or this trade rumor around the trade deadline involves the Titans, okay? So I want to explain something. I had a friend reach out who is well-connected in Nashville, and keep in mind, what I'm about to read to you guys about Easton Butler has no ties whatsoever to what I'm about to tell you. This guy asked me specifically, you guys shop in Musgrave? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's been reported that teams have asked about Musgrave. And it's very important, guys. When we talk trade rumors, that doesn't mean the Packers are actively shopping Luke Musgrave. It doesn't mean that the Packers, called Tennessee and made an offer on the player we're going to talk about. I'm going to be very clear up front about that, okay? I can't stand when people act like they've got more information they do. So this is just strictly this guy in Nashville, season ticket holder, specifically asked me, you guys shop in Musgrave. I'm going, why would somebody be interested in Luke Musgrave? You know what I mean? Just kind of, it's one of those things like, it's like, why would you ask specifically about a player who I think in all Packers' eyes have thought he's underperformed? So it makes me wonder, is the team, the Tennessee Titans, calling the Packers asking about Musgrave? And then we have this report drop, which is just, it could be just a heck of a coincidence. But Easton Butler tweeted out, and you guys know Easton Butler, friend of the show. This dude, I think he's as honest a person as you're going to find in terms of rumors. He doesn't tell you they're going to trade for this guy. He tells you what he heard. Here's what's actually happened to this point. And he always makes it a point, puts emphasis on, hey, look, I'm not saying they're going to trade for this guy. This is just behind the scenes type stuff. So he tweeted out roughly 12 hours ago, probably 14 hours ago now, something like that. The Packers were one of several teams to call the Tennessee Titans about defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat, per source. The Packers hosted Sweat on a top 30 visit leading up to the 2024 NFL Draft. Easton, being the brilliant person he is, specifically mentions, hey, this was a top 30 visit for the Packers. Now, typically with a top 30 visit, you're trying to gather information. Are they worthy of the draft grade we've got on them? And they want to fine tune that draft grade. Sometimes they'll have a top 30 visit to cross people off their boards. Most of the time, they're trying to really narrow in because they got a few more questions on that specific player on whether or not their grade is accurate or not. So with that being said, what Easton is confirming here is the Packers were one of several teams to call the Tennessee Titans about T'Vondre Sweat. Now you're wondering, okay, T'Vondre Sweat, how has he been playing? I'm glad you asked. Let's dive into it here a little bit, okay? According to PFF, he is actually ranking 30th in the National Football League amongst defensive linemen at a 70.5 PFF grade. Pretty solid grade, but you'll notice only 90 snaps this year. Okay. So that's an important aspect of this too. He's played somewhat minimal snaps this year, right? And that's because he's missed some time. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I also want to point this out, guys. Jeffrey Simmons, his teammate, is grading out an 84.5 at the interior defensive line position as well. So when you got two players at a similar position and you're in rebuild mode, you're probably looking to go, okay, how can we offload guys and actually pick up draft picks, right? And is this guy a part of our future or not, right? Now, some people would say Jeffrey Simmons is older than T'Vondre Sweat. Wouldn't they look to get rid of him? Well, I don't know his exact age. This video isn't about Jeffrey Simmons. I just wanted to mention you got two players that are playing pretty well at the interior defensive line spot. Now, keep in mind, Jeffrey Simmons is more of a 3-tech and T'Vondre Sweat is more of a nose tackle. But again, now look at it from the Packers' perspective. If they did indeed call Tennessee about T'Vondre Sweat, we're good at 3-tech with Devontae Wyatt. We hit him with the 5th-year option. It's obvious they want to extend his contract. Who's playing nose for you? Well, you look at the contracts in the future. Right now, Kobe Wooden's playing nose, right? You've had Carl Brooks play a little nose. You've had, Warren Brinson is more of a pass rushing 3-tech, but he's played a little nose. You also have his college teammate, right? Nazir Stackhouse. He's played nose this year, but again, he's only on a 1-year deal, although I think you've got rights for 2 or 3 years if you play your cards right there, restricted free agency, exclusive rights, free agency, that type of thing. So it kind of opens up this window. Now you got to ask yourself, what was the draft grade that the Packers had on T'Vondre Sweat, right? He was selected with the 38th overall selection. He was a top 30 visit for the Packers, which tells me they were probably trying to narrow that draft grade down. Where exactly do we have him on the board type thing? When you look at his PFF grades, guys, his rookie year, 76.1. If I remember correctly, you guys double check me on this. I know at one point he was the highest graded rookie defensive tackle from that 2024 NFL draft. Okay, so 76.1. And then this year, 70.5. Now, last year, 699 snaps. This year, only 90. However, it looks like he's proven he's healthy now. Okay, so when you look at their defensive grades, again, Jeffrey Simmons is their top defender, according to PFF, at an 84.5. Cedric Gray, another young player, linebacker, 74.8. Then T'Vondre Sweat, a 70.5. Okay. So when you look at that, you go, okay, let's build the defense around Jeffrey Simmons. Maybe T'Vondre Sweat is draftable or is tradable. Now, people will ask, well, why would you draft him and then turn around and trade him? Guys, we know how that regime has worked in Tennessee. There's been a lot of what am I trying to say here? Overhaul, right? Yeah, you've got GMs and coaches coming and going, and they're trying to kind of settle in. This might be a piece they would be willing to trade. And I think teams are calling for a reason. Now, if we flash back, let's go back to the final 2024 consensus big board. Okay. So again, the consensus big board is exactly what it sounds like. They take all of the media members, everybody who kind of covers the draft, and they come up with the consensus of here's what our big board would look like. Everybody collectively. Okay. T'Vondre Sweat was ranked 74th in that draft. Now, again, you see that and go, okay, he's ranked 74th, but the Titans selected him at 38. Is there a little bit of drafter's remorse there? Could be, right? That might be why they're looking to get rid of him. But nonetheless, I wanted to point out Byron Murphy, Jerzon Newton, Braden Fisk, Chris Jenkins, Michael Hall Jr., Rook Ora, and then you've got T'Vondre Sweat at 74. That was the order in which they fell on the consensus big board. Okay, so just wanted to give a little flashback there. Now, let's go to the Luke Musgrave rumors, okay? Easton Butler also put a tweet out on Halloween night. The Packers have received trade interest for tight end Luke Musgrave per sources. The Chiefs and Jaguars are two teams that have offered Green Bay with more this week. Reported offers haven't been anything higher than a 5th-round pick, okay? So with that being said, you've got two specific teams that are linked to actually making an offer on Luke Musgrave. And then I had this guy from Nashville just randomly reach out to me and say, hey, is Musgrave available? Now, maybe he just seen this on the internet. Maybe he's seen this on Twitter and said, oh, man, yeah, Musgrave was pretty good in college, right? Let me reach out to Clayton and see if there is, whatever. Is there anything? Some people think I'm an insider. I'm not an insider, guys. I'm a fan just like you. And I'm combing through the same information you guys are. My goal isn't to be an insider. My goal is to be the hardest working podcaster, that covers the Packers. That's my goal, period. And that doesn't mean I'm better than anybody else, smarter than anybody else. It just means it takes zero effort. It takes zero intelligence. It takes zero radio broadcast voice/accent, as you guys know, to do a podcast, to be the hardest working podcaster, right? I want to outwork everyone in what I do. That's it. That's the only advantage I could have because I haven't spent 20 years in the media. Does that make sense? So with that being said, him reaching out to me just perked my ears up going, why did he reach out? That's kind of strange. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know, just maybe it's nothing. But anyway, so the Chiefs and the Jaguars have made offers. They're saying a 5th round pick. Now, obviously, you spent what was it we spent on Musgrave? The 43rd overall selection, so a 2nd round pick. That's a pretty, you're kind of taking a bath with that, right? You're taking a bath knowing that, okay, we're going to trade, we spent a 2nd round pick on a guy and we're only going to pick up a 5th round pick. But this Tennessee thing, maybe you could do something with Tennessee to get a T'Vondre Sweat if he indeed is available. And maybe you could group a Musgrave or something. Again, I'm not even saying trade Musgrave, but let's talk about how he's performed to this point, okay? He is the 87th ranked tight end in terms of PFF grade at a 51.3. That's this year, guys, this year, okay? Let's look at what he's done throughout his career. His rookie year, he came out, and you know, we always talk about if you grade out in the 60s, you're usually that's a pretty good indicator that a player is going to be a good pro. He graded out a 68.4 his rookie year. I'm thinking, all right, I think we got us one here, right? And then, of course, the injuries hit, right? So he had 52 targets his rookie year and graded out a 68.1. In 2024, only 9 targets. We know he was banged up, right? 2025 so far, only 7 targets. So, you know, I always say if you want to know what's important to someone, you want to know where their priorities lie, look at their checkbook and look at their calendar. I learned that from a business partner of mine years ago. Look at their checkbook and look at their calendar. Where are they spending their money? Where are they spending their time? And in this aspect, with the time, why are they not giving him more targets? Right? We've seen Fitzpatrick kind of emerge here recently, right? So with that being said, if we fall back, I want to say Fitzpatrick. Notice here, guys, at number 79. You've got John Fitzpatrick, who plays for the Packers. He's grading out a 53.9. That's not a world beater, but it is higher than Luke Musgrave. And it does kind of feel like they're giving Fitzpatrick more looks. Now, maybe I'm wrong on the snap count. You guys do your own research there, but that just kind of stood out to me like, okay, it does seem like on Chalk Talk, we very, very, very rarely mention Musgrave's name, but we're almost always mentioning Fitzpatrick on this SIF block, on this backside protection, or you know, last year I want to say he scored a touchdown or 2, right? So it almost feels like Goody might be admitting, and the coaching staff's helping him admit that we may have missed on Musgrave. Now, listen, this isn't Musgrave hate. You guys know I was very excited about the Musgrave pick, so please don't take this as, you know, Monday morning quarterback and oh yeah, well they missed on Musgrave. They could have, right? He could still get completely healthy, and maybe he is healthy now, and emerge as a better tight end than Tucker Kraft. Highly doubt that one. I think everybody would agree with me. But I'm just simply saying I like Musgrave as a prospect. So if the Packers missed on him, guess what? Clayton missed on him too. You know, so I want to make sure I'm very honest and upfront about that. But again, the only thing worse than making a bad draft pick is refusing to admit you made a bad draft pick. And this might be a chance to grab something on the way out if you do plan on moving on from Musgrave, or you plan on Fitzpatrick, you know, playing more snaps than him. With that being said, when it comes to Musgrave, other teams are looking at Musgrave the same way we're looking at T'Vondre Sweat. They're going, hey, we had a high draft grade on him. It's obvious the Packers had a 2nd round grade on Musgrave, or they wouldn't have selected him with the 43rd selection. Now, immediately following it in the 3rd round, you took Tucker Kraft, and if I remember correctly, they had 2nd round picks on both those guys. Imagine if Tucker had been drafted after Musgrave and you not got Tucker, and your starting tight end is Luke Musgrave. I think we would all agree Tucker Kraft is a better football player than Musgrave. It doesn't mean he's more athletic. It doesn't mean he has more natural God-given ability. But sometimes in the National Football League, a player exceeds expectations. He takes a step beyond another player that may have more physical talent than them because they grab the game a little bit quicker. They stay healthier. They fit the scheme a little bit more, right? We never looked at Musgrave as an inline Y tight end who's going to block a linebacker into oblivion, right? We looked at him as, hey, this is a guy you can flex out, you can create mismatch problems, that type of thing. Really, Musgrave fits more of an offense that I think would be like Mike McCarthy's offense, right? Like how we utilize Jermichael Finley. We never seen Jermichael Finley as, man, we want him to sift over and crack a 280-pound defensive end to seal off the backside of a split flow run, right? Musgrave definitely not that guy. So maybe these other teams are looking at like, hey, he fits our scheme a little bit more, right? Just want to mention that. So Now, again, where did the consensus big board have Musgrave? They actually had him right where the Packers took him. They had him in the 48th spot, or I'm sorry, not in the exact spot. They had him at the 48th spot, and the Packers took him at 43. So right there in that zone, if that makes sense. So if you were to fall back, and the whole point of this, guys, is if you were to fall back to T'Vondre Sweat, the consensus big board had him 74. And I don't know if I've got my board here. I'm not going to put it on the screen, but we had T'Vondre Sweat as the third best defensive lineman. He was red on our board because we were concerned about injuries. So that maybe made him drop. That might be why the consensus big board had him at 74, right? But we had him as the third best defensive lineman behind Byron Murphy, Jerzon Newton. Then we had T'Vondre Sweat, then Chris Jenkins. But T'Vondre Sweat's grade was a 39. That means he is worthy of the 39th pick, is essentially how our grading system works. Low number wins, okay? So the lower the number, the higher they are on our board in terms of our draft grade, all right? So with that being said, we had him at 39. Tennessee took him at 38. So we had him right where Tennessee had him graded out at, and the Packers had him in on a top 30 visit, and now they're willing to potentially trade for T'Vondre Sweat. You can kind of see the one thing that doesn't line up with T'Vondre Sweat is the consensus big board. That's why we take everything and put it in a pot when we come up with these draft grades. So with that being said, again, I don't know if they're going to trade for T'Vondre Sweat. I don't know if they're actually looking to get rid of Musgrave. As Easton Butler's tweet said here, it didn't say the Packers are shopping Luke Musgrave, right? If that was the case, that means, hey, send out a signal, send out the bat signal to the other 31 teams. Hey, we're interested in trading this guy. What it does mean is multiple teams have reached out, and 2 have actually made an offer for Musgrave. So do I like trading Musgrave for a 5th-round pick? I personally do not, because I would rather keep him, even if he's the 3rd tight end on the roster, I would rather keep him for the duration of his contract, because you've got a guy who knows the scheme, knows the system, and he could play wide receiver in a pinch. Not that we would need him to, but I just feel like you taking a bath from a 2nd-round pick down to a 5th-round pick to get rid of a player who we've spent all this time molding and teaching him the scheme. I think there is enough value in Musgrave that I would not want to trade down 3 picks just to get rid of him, right? However, if he's involved with a trade with Tennessee to get someone like T'Vondre Sweat, then I would be willing to do something there. Like, what if you gave Musgrave and you gave them a 5th-round pick to land T'Vondre Sweat? To me, that sounds like a pretty darn good deal. I'd have to dig into it a little bit deeper than that and go to Next Gen Stats and see if that lines up with the PFF grade and whatnot. But that's just kind of how I see it. So with that being said, I want to know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate everybody on the live stream here. I just want to do a quick video. We're still going live at 10:45 a.m. Central for the PTA pregame show. Everybody let me know in the comments, all right, when this video ends, would you want to trade for T'Vondre Sweat? Would you want to get rid of Musgrave? Would you want to try to group a deal together for T'Vondre Sweat by shopping Musgrave to the Titans? And it was just a little odd that I had that fella reach out and go, hey, man, y'all shopping Musgrave? And then all of a sudden, the T'Vondre Sweat rumors pop up. Or I say rumors, interest pops up, right? The Packers didn't make an offer. As Easton Butler said, they just simply called the Tennessee Titans about defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live, like later on this morning when we go live at 10:45 a.m. Central for the PTA pregame show. And we will also be going live immediately following the game. We'll take you up to kickoff, and then after the game, we'll be going live for the post-game show as well. Thank y'all so much for making us part of your morning. Get that coffee in you. We're going to have an awesome pregame show for you guys and gals. Take you around the league, show you the matchups you're going to want to look to root for, which teams this Sunday. And obviously, we got a 12 noon kickoff at Lambeau. It don't get any better than that. Everybody have a great day. My name's Clayton. This is PTA.
There we go.
Bye, guys.